Thanks for having me. I'm Keith George, all the way from Killeen, Texas, hoping I can get my message across to folks up there in Thedford in the Sandhills area. Who would have thought, while I was making my journey up US 83 back in May, that I'd be sitting in my office in the middle of the summer fighting a fight that's over 900 miles away. 22 years in the military, most of my fights are right in front of me. But I believe in this one. I believe in the Sandhills. I fell in love with them. I fell in love with the folks up there as well. It was great to see pristine areas that I'd never thought could ever exist anymore. Saw wetlands and birds and animals that I've only seen on TV at that level. I was just absolutely amazed at the kindness and the graciousness of the folks who invited me onto their ranches to allow me to fly my drones, to get video, and just to see the level of work and integrity from everyone up there. It was unbelievable. One of the things that struck me was they all had one thing in common right now, and that's fear of the wind turbine power along with the high tension power wires coming through. As I drove home, kind of sat down and thought about it, kind of put it on a shelf. And as I went through, I decided to start looking into it. I was stunned at what I found. I didn't find that much good about it. So many farms that have failed. So many pieces of equipment that have dropped. Empty promises from the very industry. Towers that promised a profit were selling their power at a loss. And if you're under a royalty program and they're at a loss, what are you going to get? You're not getting anything. As I began to talk to a lawyer friend of mine who wrote a book, I talked to Manny and I told her, this is confusing. And she kind of turned me back into the book. It's really not much different than the oil industry that we have down here in place in various ranches and farms. They're paid by the government not to pump. You drive by and you see so many of them just sitting still. The government's paying for them not to even pump the oil that they took from them in the first place. Began doing some more research. Began to realize that it was early in the 1800s, back in Brownlee, when you had Audacious and DeWitty, the government couldn't hardly give the land away. But yeah, some folks took it, and they grew it, and they brought it into a history and a legacy that just can't be even described now. And the irony is, they want to take it back. How does that work? You've earned it. You've kept it. 100+ years out there of hard labor. And the ranchers know the property. They know the delicate balance that they have to maintain between their ranch and the wildlife and the nature around them. They're more in tune with it than anything I've ever seen. One rancher even told me, he says, hey look, he said, with the aquifer down below us and the way this works, my cows drink better water than any city folk ever has out of a bottle. He's right. I drink from a bottle because our city water just is that bad. So many things have to be looked at. And I would think that the simple numbers would be enough to say no. But for some, apparently it's not. So when I was doing my research, I went to the Bureau of Land Management. And this is what I found. A 49 to 58 turbine site. Each turbine will take up 3.3 to 3.9 acres of land. New access roads, 5.9 acres. Substations, 0.6 acres. New interconnected lines, 0.8 acres. Permanent disturbed area will be 10.6 to 11.2 acres per tower. Temporarily disturbed area goes to 13.3 and 15.7. That's a disturbing number. Because you know when you have a blowout out there, it could take forever. It could take years to get it back into place. The estimated raw cut. Now this is an interesting point because they're going to take about 2,000 cubic yards out per windmill. Estimated raw fill is 2,400 cubic yards of foreign soil. These are the numbers from the Bureau of Land Management. 2,400 cubic yards per. That's foreign soil being brought into a pristine area. Who's to guarantee that the soil hasn't been contaminated? What are they using? Is that going to leach down into the very aquifer that feeds your wildlife and feeds the very ground you're on? From the Dismal, south, north, and middle loop, all the way up to Nairobi. All the endangered species you have up there. They're going to begin to drink tainted water possibly? There's no promise. Nobody's asked that question yet. What's the guarantee? I don't think there is one. Not from them. And when I pulled up from your own website in Nebraska, an index of sensitivity of wildlife, you can see it behind me right now. You see 6 bars. Incredibly enough, you cover the top 3 bars in the high range. And even down the biologically unique landscape, you own it. And yet you're willing to run the risk of these towers? Can't see it. The dangers are too high. We haven't even talked about failures of the systems and failures of all the equipment around you. You have to ask yourselves, what is my legacy going to be? What am I leaving my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren? Because they're already great-grandchildren working on the ranches. And I saw them out there. Saw ages from 90 to 10. It's incredible. When that 10-year-old begins to drive and has her kids, is she going to be able to drive up US 83? Is she going to be able to look out and enjoy the wildlife and enjoy the pristine perfection? Or is she going to point to these broken towers and go, that's what my great-grandfather did? What is your legacy? What do you want it to be?